All right. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So can you tell me your name and your role at Liberty Avenue Middle School?
My name is Laura Morell, and I teach eighth grade ELA.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to this interview.
Mhm.
So I'm going to ask a few questions about your role in change processes at our school,
Mhm.
and you're okay with this recording, correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
So, have you ever been a part of a change process? And if so, please explain.
Yes, a major change process we went through recently was changing the ELA curriculum. We had used Scholastic's Codex for a number of years and had really grappled with making it rigorous and culturally responsive. So we switched recently to one called Wit and Wisdom.
Awesome. And what did you feel before, during, and after this change?
I think there was a lot of excitement and relief because uh, there was a lot of aspects about the Codex curriculum that was really not working for the ELA team, particularly the lack of um, culturally responsive texts. And the opportunity to switch was really refreshing. And we were brought into the process. So there were two that were introduced by the district, and we got to be in these sort of trainings that introduced them, and we got to have some say in which one we wanted. I think once I, once it was picked, I think there was some struggles. Um, I think the one that was chosen wasn't the favorite for most people. And then, of course, the implementation is just inevitably rocky as you get to know a new curriculum. So it sort of was a gamut of emotions. I think the predominant one for me really was excitement and relief. Um, and then frustration, but I felt like it was very normal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of leads into my next question about the resistance either you felt or witnessed as the change occurred. And you've already a little touched on it a little bit.
Yeah, there was definitely some resistance. A lot of people were concerned because it doesn't come with supports built in
Mhm.
for English language learners or students with disabilities. Um, and even though the prevailing research is that you give a curriculum that's on grade level and then you modify and accommodate based on your students' needs, there was still some pushback in that area. I particularly was not concerned about that because I knew that we had the skills and the resources to do those adaptations on our own. Um, the other resistance came because they really didn't want us to change the curriculum at all, like aside from of course those modifications, but they didn't want us like changing the timing in lessons or changing the wording of questions. We really There was a big push to just implement it with fidelity.
Mhm.
um, and they wanted us to just do that for a year. That was a district mandate, just like let's just do it as it is. And a lot of teachers felt like, but this piece doesn't work, this piece doesn't work, my creativity as a teacher is being stifled, and all of which is very understandable.
Mhm.
But I do think we're in a good position now, having done the curriculum, aside from what happened with COVID and the shutdown. Because we have done it with fidelity, we're in a really good position to now kind of make it our own.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. I do, it's funny to see it or to hear about it because I heard about it piece by piece and from different people. So I'm
Mhm.
happy to hear that it's fully implemented and going well.
Mhm.
How do you think leaders can impact the success of change process, whether positive or negative?
I think the biggest thing that leaders need to do is bring in teachers' voices. Um, because and not just in a surface way, like let's let the teachers talk, like pretend like teachers have a lot of valuable things to say. Like we're on the ones in the classroom with the kids. That doesn't mean by any means that we're always right, but I think that the biggest thing leaders can do is listen, talk, like discuss, tease out ideas together, and then be very transparent if something that the teachers want is not right based on research or based on the school's goals. Um, so I think discussion and transparency are just really important. I think our school is really strong in those areas.
For sure. And then on the other side, how do you think the employee can impact the success of a change process?
Two things. be honest. Like if you have questions or concerns, I think that's okay, respectfully. But also like I think flexibility is really important. You know, there are some things in the curriculum that I was like, I really don't know about this, but let's give it a shot. Like it's not going to hurt anybody. It's okay. So I think those two things are really important: transparency, honesty, and the other thing that I said.
Flexibility.
Thank you, flexibility.
Yeah.
It's early. I think that's really important, and ask for support when you need it. You know.
Yeah, and then this is kind of just as a kind of ending. Do you see like I guess it's kind of hard with COVID, but are you seeing improvement in our students' reading skills and writing skills due to this curriculum in different than you've seen in past?
Hmm. I do, because I think there's a lot more interest and engagement for the kids. I think they like the texts we're reading a lot better, and that just makes a huge difference in the skills they're going to gain if they're invested in it. So it is hard to judge with COVID, but I did feel like before everything kind of went, we were seeing improvement, which is really great.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it,
Welcome.
and I will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
So are you okay with me recording this interview?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you again. So can you just introduce yourself?
My name is Jason Lewis, and I work at Liberty Avenue Middle School. I've been a social studies teacher here for 6 years.
Great. Well, thank you so much. So I'm just going to conduct an interview asking you about change and resistance and a change process that you've been a part of at Liberty. So can you tell me a time that you've been a part of a change process?
Well, this year we are actually changing our curriculum. We're converting to facing history for sixth through eighth grade. Sorry.
And what is that looking like, changing the curriculum?
It's looking interesting because facing history has been around for a long time. So some of their units are more updated than others. Like sixth grade, I feel like they've done that more recently. So it kind of fits the student of today. The reconstruction one, which was what the eighth grade is doing, I think that was designed like maybe 20 years ago. So trying to adapt that for how kids learn today and the technology that we have available has been a bit of a challenge, but I think the core essence of the unit is still quality. It's a lot to sift through.
Nice. So can you describe your feelings? And I guess it's a little different because you're still doing it, but your feelings before the change, during the change, and after the change?
My feelings before was that we had a lot of latitude of what we could teach. So that was pretty exciting. We really we could do whatever select issues we thought the kids would be most interested in, and we can also intertwine a lot of current events with what we were teaching. So that was exciting. But the drawback from that is that it wasn't already organized for us. So we were always trying to basically reinvent the wheel. So I guess it's nice to have the idea of having a curriculum already set to do without having to reinvent. Unfortunately, the reconstruction unit, there's still a lot of reinventing. But that's okay.
Have you, did you see any resistance when this change was implemented or suggested?
I wouldn't say so, because we have been kind of creating on our own as a department for so long. And before, at one point, we were doing the NYC DOE curriculum for social studies, and we found that was just too much. A lot of readings, a lot of very dense. It was a very dense unit. It was hard to get through with the kids. So we kind of welcomed the idea of getting a fresh curriculum. So yeah.
Great. So that's great that there was no resistance to this change. And I think it's really, the kids seem to really enjoy it from what I'm hearing. How do you think leaders can impact the success of a change process?
I guess really explaining why this will be an effective change, giving us the resources necessary to successfully implement that change, and then also considering the feedback about that change from the teacher. So we're working together so the teacher feels invested in the process as well, and not like they're being forced to do something that may or may not make sense to them. So if it's collaborative, and it makes sense, I think that teachers will be more committed to sticking with the change, more invested in the change.
Absolutely. And then you kind of just answered my last question, and it was, how do you think the employee can impact the success of the change? So if you want to add anything else
I
to it.
mean, just coming in with an open mind and not being afraid to speak up. If you are not liking something about it, say it. Don't just quietly grumble to yourself about it. Because I think if you do say something, then if you're dealing with a good leader or a considerate leader, they will hear what you're saying and try and work with you the best that they can. Hopefully, ideally.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, that's it. I think we
All right.
covered it.
Thank you so much for your time, and I will see you later.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. Hi, how are you?
Hi, Miss Quinlan. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good. So just before we get started, are you okay with me recording this interview?
Yes, definitely.
Okay, great. Thank you. So can you just say your name and your role here at Liberty Avenue Middle School?
Yes, my name is Christine Public, and I am the coordinator of student activities.
Great. Thank you. So I'm just going to ask you about 5 short questions about your role in a change process that you've been a part of, and I appreciate your time.
Of course.
All right. So the first question, have you ever been a part of a change process? And if so, please explain.
Yes, I definitely was part of the huge change process of going from totally normal in person to completely remote last year back in March. And even that process has continued and still continues to this day. So it's constant change.
Yeah, definitely. What were your feelings before, during, and after this continuous change that we're a part of?
So before the change, we had 1 week to figure out what we were going to do, about a week and a half. And honestly, I was completely stumped. I didn't think we have something called morning meeting at our school, and I wasn't sure what would be possible, if students would be able to access the meeting or show up. And so honestly, I was very afraid that I wouldn't be able to do it, but I was determined. So when we first started doing online morning meeting for our students during this time, it was a challenge at first because all these horrible things are going on. COVID was happening, everyone was stuck inside, but I took that as the challenge to try and bring joy to other people. So from that, I actually got to know a lot of teachers really well online. I got to know students really well online. I weirdly almost became this like not TV personality, but like Zoom personality, known for like, oh yeah, that's the morning meeting person. And it was fun. It was really fun. And I think like the fact that we were able to connect with students with polls and questions and interviewing other staff members, we tried to make it as interactive as possible. And we did workouts too. I don't know what if students participated in the workouts. Some did, mostly 6th graders, but that was a really fun time. And after that was all over, kind of in the summer, I was reflecting and thinking back. And honestly, it was really special. It was a really special time where I felt like no matter what was going on outside of people's homes or even inside their homes and with everything that was horrible around us, we had like a few moments together that were really beautiful and impactful. And it really, I like look back at some of the recordings. I was looking at them 2 weeks ago, and I almost got teary-eyed looking at that because it just was really like such a beautiful time.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely look forward to it every day. Thank you. Did you witness or feel any resistance as this change was occurring?
I think there wasn't necessarily resistance, but I think there was just like a reluctance, not from anyone in particular, but just like everyone was nervous, everyone was scared, and we all were on the same page. So because of that, I don't think there really was any resistance to it. If anything, people have been more accommodating and more open to sharing like their ideas or supporting. Even now, we still do some like remote things. Like we have our Wednesday school-wide events and games, and we're able to connect with remote and in-person students. And the advisors who have volunteered to host those have been amazing. And I think that that's because we were all really scared at first, and they haven't been resistant to it.
Yeah, it's been amazing. How do you think leaders can impact the success of change processes?
I think morale has a really part of it. So thinking about this, like our principal, you would never know like half of the crazy stuff that happened behind the scenes or behind closed doors in her own life, or even with like other students, whatever's happening. And she is really huge on making sure like staff are happy at the school. She also like thinks of ways that we can bring happiness to others. So we've done like staff events or teacher appreciation day or week, and she is always game for any of that because she thinks morale is really important. And I think that's a really important part of being a leader, is making sure other people feel appreciated and loved. So I think that's essential.
Absolutely. And then my last question is, how do you think the employee can impact the success of a change process?
I think employees need to be empathetic, and I think that they need to try and withhold judgment, because they never know, again, kind of going back to what I answered previously, they never know what's going on behind the scenes. So while there might be some huge decisions, maybe they don't necessarily agree with it or agree with how a decision was made, but they should still like take a step back, have empathy, and understand that that's that leader's decision, and have trust in that leader, that they know what's best for the community.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And for all your hard work during our pandemic and our remote time. It was wonderful. I know, like I said, I know I look forward to it. I know our kids always liked it, and we got amazing turnout. So, all
Yes, we did. We really did.
right. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Ms. Quinlan. Bye.
Bye.